Discover how a heartwarming gesture from a cowboy and his daughter transformed her life forever. The sun dipped low over the dusty Texas plains, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. In that moment, 16-year-old Lily felt the ache of her heart mirror the vast emptiness that surrounded her. Her mother was gone, and with each day since, she found herself slipping further away from the rodeo world that once felt like a second skin. The bright lasso that once spun effortlessly through her fingers now lay forgotten in a corner of the barn, much like the dream she hesitated to acknowledge. With every kick of the hooves on the ground, Lily was reminded of the unwavering spirit of her mother, a spirit she felt she could never reclaim. Hank, her father, stood stoic beside the corral. Weathered by years of hard labor, his silent strength was a sorrowful reflection of the mourning they both shared. To the townsfolk, the whispers began how a girl so spirited had lost her shine and how a father's love seemed buried under layers of unspoken grief. They called it whimsy. They called it weakness. But it wasn't weakness, not to Lily. It was a struggle, a wrestle with grief and expectations that gnawed at her heart and her pride, yet, beneath the somber atmosphere of their struggling ranch, something flickered in Hank's heart at the town's annual community day, a moment of pure inspiration. He decided, even if it felt like a reach, to give Lily a chance to compete in a youth rodeo program. Maybe, just maybe, it could create a bridge to span the painful silence that grew between them. "Lily, you've got your mother's fire. Let us see it burn again," he said against the backdrop of fading light, determination etched into his features, uncertainty filled the air. Would she have the courage to return? As she listened to the familiar sounds of horses whinnying and saddles creaking, skepticism tugged at her heart. Could a cowboy's daughter truly dance with her dreams again, alive and full? She pondered the echoes of gossipy whispers that followed her. Could she rise above the judgment and reclaim her spark? Even as the chance sat before her, the town loomed large, an entity itself, filled with the unwelcoming energy of conservative minds steeped in tradition. Every challenge in the practice ring, every flip of her wrist felt heavy with expectation, and the ghosts of her mother's absence seemed to haunt every corner. Hank, too, wrestled with fears of losing her to the rodeo. What if by encouraging her, he nudged her further away into a world of pain? The competition loomed like a storm cloud ready to burst. Days melted into dusk as tension built. Lily could feel it seep into her bones, making every whistle, every shout from the coaches echo like the cracking whip of unresolved feelings in their relationship. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amidst the chaos, Lily found a flicker of inspiration. She wanted to reclaim her identity, to harness that roaring fire her mother had always nurtured in her heart. Just then, a last-minute revelation hit Hank. The essence of the heartache and love they both carried. Swift moments of vulnerability rushed to the surface, threatening to crack the shell they built around each other. As the starting bell rang, she found herself in the saddle, heart pounding fiercely, eyes wide with hope for the first time in ages. But could she take that leap? Could her father stand beside her, and for once, not just as a distant protector but as a true partner? Together, they faced the depths of their fears, compelled to finally confront what it truly meant to heal. As Lily steadied herself, the gate began to swing open. Their story was just beginning, and in that moment, everything could change. Would they break free from their barriers, or were they destined to fight alone, trapped in the shadows of their own regrets? With a deep breath, Lily felt the muscles of the horse beneath her shift as it began to move. The familiar energy surged through her, and suddenly all the whispers of doubt, of loss faded into the background. It was just her, the horse, and the vast, unforgiving arena before her. As the gate swung wide, a wave of roaring excitement washed over her. She felt the thrill echo through her body, mingling with the pulse of her heartbeat. The contest was on, and she was not just a spectator this time. She was a participant, stepping out of the shadow of grief into the light of possibility. Hank watched from the sidelines, the protective barrier of the corral now a witness to a moment of daring courage. His heart raced as he observed Lily gain her footing, her face transforming into a mask of determination. Each turn she made, each movement she executed, breathed life back into memories of her mother, who always believed in the magic of the rodeo. The crowd buzzed with excitement as Lily seized the reins, her confidence blooming. She wasn't just riding a horse, she was riding towards hope. A small smile tugged at the corners of Hank's mouth. Could this be the spark that reignited the bond between them? Could the pain of loss be woven into a new tapestry of love and understanding? In that instant, memories flooded back for Hank, days spent under the Texas sun, laughter ringing out as Lily had chased her dreams. How she had been his little cowgirl. But the fears still nibbled at him, gnawing at the edges of his pride. What if she faltered? What if this dream only deepened the void they shared? His stomach twisted as he watched her ride harder, faster, unyielding, and then it happened. As she prepared for a final turn, the horse stumbled slightly before regaining balance. The crowd gasped, and Lily felt her heart drop. She was losing control. Panic surged, chasing the thrill away, leaving only the cold grip of fear. But as she gathered herself, Lily suddenly remembered her mother's voice, the way it used to wrap around her like a warm blanket. "You are stronger than you know, baby girl." With a clarion call to her spirit, she pushed through the fear, gripping the reins tighter as she focused on the path ahead. The world narrowed, it was just her and the horse, the thudding of hooves like a heartbeat against the earth. She rounded the corner, defying the doubts that had pressed so heavily on her chest. The finish line approached, and with a burst of strength, she crossed it, her breath coming in exhilarated gasps. Cheers erupted around her from the crowd, and even Hank couldn't contain his pride, leaping to his feet. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt free. But just as quickly as joy filled the air, a nagging thought crept in: what if this was just the beginning? As the adrenaline began to fade, questions loomed. Would applause be enough to mend the distances built by their grief? Could these moments in the saddle translate into a deeper connection beyond the rodeo ring? Lily could see Hank in the distance, face awash in pride yet clouded by something she couldn't quite place. His silence spoke volumes, and as she dismounted, the weight of expectation settled back onto her shoulders. Was this one moment of triumph enough to heal their hearts, or just a fleeting flicker in the dark? As she approached him, the air crackled with unspoken emotions. With hope in her heart, she took a deep breath, ready to leap into the unknown. They needed to find their way back to each other. Was it possible to transform the silence into a new language of love? In the heart of Texas, where the sunsets painted skies with second chances, everything hung in the balance. Would they step off the edge together, or let the shadows pull them beneath once again? Lily walked towards Hank, her heart pounding and her spirit soaring in the afterglow of her ride. It felt as though she was floating, the sounds of the crowd fading into a distant echo. But reality, heavy and thick, loomed just ahead. Hank stood there, half smiling, yet an undeniable barrier hung between them, something unsaid, a crack in their bond that had widened since her mother's passing. As she approached, her breath calmed, replaced by a mingling of hope and fear. "Did you see? I did it," she exclaimed, all her energy rushing out in a confetti of joy, but Hank only nodded, the lines on his face deepening with unasked questions. "You rode beautifully, Lily." "I knew you could do it," he acknowledged, but the warmth in his voice felt slow to reach his eyes. They stood in silence, the cheers of the crowd dwindling into the evening air. It became evident to Lily that the applause, though sweet, wouldn't bridge the gulf between them. Memories of dancing under the Texas stars and chasing fireflies as laughter floated in the warm wind filled the empty spaces. Those were moments they needed to reclaim. She hesitated, words drying up, a knot tightening in her throat. "I've missed riding, Dad." It felt good to feel her voice trailed off as she searched for the right words, but the truth tangled and twisted inside her. Good. It felt exhilarating, but it was more than that. It felt like coming home, Hank shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his eyes studying hers. "It's not just about riding, is it?" His voice was low but clear, each word bearing the weight of their shared loss. Lily looked down, trying to catch hold of the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. "No, it's not. I wanted to make you proud. To feel your belief in me again." The admission hung in the air, broken and raw, like fine glass, beautiful yet at risk of shattering. His heart twisted as he saw her vulnerability break through the facade of confidence she had built. "You've always made me proud, sweetheart." He took a hesitant step towards her, the air between them thick with unspoken things. "I'm just scared. What if you push too hard, and it hurts more?" His concern mirrored her own fears she tried to bury deep inside as she rode. Her eyes welled up, and she blinked away the tears. "What if it doesn't have to hurt?" she said softly, a spark of hope igniting within. "What if this is the start of something new for us?" Hank studied her, searching for the right response. "Lily, life isn't that simple. We can't just wish the past away," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Yet, she saw the flicker of possibility in his eyes, like a candle fighting against the darkness. "Then let us build something together," she pleaded, hope pooling around her heart. "Let us start with riding again. Together." As Hank looked at her, the sunset bathed them in a warm glow, threads of pink and orange weaving through the sky, a new canvas painted with potential. He took a deep breath, just like she had before her ride. "All right. Together." The word hung between them, a fragile promise against the backdrop of their grief. But just as Lily felt the tide of their connection swelling, a loud crash disrupted the fragile moment, the sound of a saddle falling in the distance, a confirmation of untamed memories and present uncertainties. "What was that?" she asked, her heart racing anew, feeling the excitement return to the edges of her spirit. Hank turned, eyes narrowing, and as they shared a knowing glance, something unspoken passed between them. A challenge. A call to adventure. "Let us go see," he said, urgency creeping into his tone. Together, they moved forward, both eager to face whatever uncertainty awaited them, longing for further healing under the vast Texan sky. But as they approached the source of the commotion, a sense of foreboding coiled within Lily. What other surprises lay in wait that evening, beyond the shadows of hope? The evening air wrapped around them like a familiar embrace as Hank and Lily hurried towards the noise. With each step, the buzz of anticipation surged in Lily's veins, pulling her toward the unknown. She could hear hooves thundering on the ground, a rush of energy crackling under the dimming sky. As they turned a corner, they arrived at the stables just in time to see a horse rearing up, startled and wild. A few riders were trying to calm it, their voices raised in urgency. Lily's heart skipped a beat. The sight of the panicked animal, its legs stamping and eyes wide, struck a chord deep within her. "Stay back," Hank instructed, his protective instinct kicking in as he stepped in front of her. But Lily felt the tug of resolve pulling at her. This was her moment to step forward, not retreat. "Dad, wait. I can help," she called out, the words stronger than the tremor inside her. The connection she had just begun to rebuild with him surged forward. Lily dashed past Hank, her feet moving faster than her thoughts. The chaos around the horse didn't make her hesitate, it ignited something in her. She remembered her own fear just moments before she mounted that beautiful mare, the thrill overshadowed by doubt. She couldn't let that horse suffer like she had suffered. "Hank, trust me," she shouted over her shoulder, her feet finding solid ground as her heart beat faster. A collective gasp echoed as she approached the horse, now snorting and thrashing against the wooden stalls. She closed her eyes for a second, breathing deeply, steadying herself as she focused on the creature in front of her. This wasn't just a horse, it was a spirit yearning to be understood. Slowly, she extended her hand, palm outward, heart racing but calm. She visualized the connection she felt on her ride. "Easy now, I'm here to help," she murmured, her voice a soft lullaby against the clatter of hooves. The stallion turned its head, coppery mane fluttering like flames in the fading light. Its eyes locked onto hers, and something shifted. A moment of recognition passed between them, a silent understanding. The chaos faded, and she stepped closer, offering warmth and assurance. The sharp sound of angry voices faded to silence. She could feel Hank's eyes on her, the mix of pride and concern washing over him. "I need help here." One of the riders turned to her, and her gaze darted toward the lasso in their hands. With a nod, she looked back to the horse. "Hold it steady, but give it space. Let it breathe," she instructed confidently, her confidence growing with each passing second. Hank stepped in beside her, now fully on board. Together, they guided the beast toward safety, the energy shifting from panic to calm. With Hank's support, Lily felt empowered, no longer just a girl who had to prove herself. Bit by bit, the horse settled. The tension in the air melted, replaced by a newfound tranquility. The riders exchanged impressed glances, and she could feel the spark of unity igniting between her and her father, stitching the fabric of their relationship tighter. As the stallion finally calmed down, a sense of triumph bubbled in Lily's chest. She turned to see Hank's eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and admiration. "Lily, you were incredible," he breathed, the sincerity in his voice wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Her heart swelled. "We did this together," she replied, the smile on her face unstoppable, but just then, a shadow crossed over the moonlit arena, and out of the corner of her eye, Lily spotted a figure beyond the stables. A familiar face lingered in the shadows, watching them intently. The feeling of unease crept back in, now mixed with curiosity. Who was it? What did they want? Lily's heart raced again, but this time not from fear. The thrill of discovery coursed through her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, she felt the stirrings of an adventure awaiting them, one with unexpected twists. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Let us figure this out, Dad." And together, they stepped into the night, ready to face whatever lay ahead, reconnecting under the stars. That once felt so empty. But would the past finally let them go, or was it destined to follow them into the dark? The night wrapped around them like a thick blanket, concealing everything but the chill of uncertainty. As they approached the shadowed figure, Lily's heart pounded, anticipation mingling with a fresh wave of anxiety. "Who is there?" Hank's voice was steady, but Lily could hear the underlying tension. She leaned closer to him, feeling his protective presence by her side. The figure stepped into the dim light cast by the barn's lantern, revealing a young man with tousled hair and an easy smile. Lily squinted, recognition flickering in her mind. "Jake?" she asked, almost breathless. "Hey, Lily. Didn't he expect to see you here?" Jake replied, his tone light but the intensity in his eyes hinted at something deeper. "Everything okay? I saw the commotion and figured I'd come check it out." Lily's breath released in a mix of relief and confusion. She hadn't seen Jake in ages. They had shared a few laughs, exchanged stories about riding and the ranch, but this moment felt different. He was no longer just a childhood friend. He was the embodiment of memories that swept over her like an old song. "Oh, we were just helping with a runaway horse," she replied, trying to sound casual, but her pulse quickened as she took in his familiar features. "I guess you saw." "I did." Jake's eyes sparkled with admiration. "That was amazing, the way you handled it. You've really grown, Lily." Heat rushed to her cheeks. She felt a prideful smile creep onto her face. "Thanks. It took some courage, I guess." The warmth of the moment was snuffed out when Hank cleared his throat, casting a careful glance between the two. "What are you doing here?" he asked, not unfriendly, but with a protective edge. Jake's expression shifted, becoming serious. "I came to let you know there's been some talk about the ranch. A couple of guys have been snooping around, asking questions." Lily felt a chill creeping down her spine. "What kind of questions?" "About land. About horses. They seemed interested in more than just the horses." His brow furrowed, and he shifted his weight, as if he knew the importance of his words. Hank's face darkened. "We've had issues before," he said, rubbing his jaw. You sure that's all? Jake nodded but hesitated, and Lily could sense the dread stretching in the air. They might be planning something, Hank. I wouldn't put it past them to try and take what isn't theirs. A wave of unease washed over her. Do you know who they are? Lily felt a knot developing in her stomach. No, but I just thought you should be careful, Jake said, stealing another glance at Hank who stood tall, his protective instinct radiating like an unyielding shield. The tension between her father and Jake was palpable. Lily stepped forward, her heart hammering against her ribcage. We need to figure this out together. We can't let them hurt the ranch. Hank shifted slightly, looking at her with pride. You're right. We've always faced challenges as a team. Jake smiled at her, admiration openly shining in his gaze. I'll help too, not just as a friend, but as someone who cares about this place. There was a spark of resolve igniting between them, a shared purpose that felt liberating. But deep down, Lily sensed the weight of the past looming over them. What if this was just the beginning? As the moon cast an ethereal glow, they formed an unlikely alliance. Together they stepped closer to the unknown, the shadows still whispering secrets just out of reach. Would their strength hold against the threat lurking around the bend? Lily glanced at Hank, who nodded, his expression solid. Let's get to work. But even as determination surged through her veins, one nagging thought lingered. What if facing this threat unmasked something darker hidden in their family history? She pushed the thought aside for now, but the restlessness remained. As they moved toward the barn, ready to strategize, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that the night was just beginning to unravel the thoughts and truths she had yet to face. What secrets remained buried in their past, and how far would they have to go to protect what they loved? Lily's mind raced as they made their way into the barn. The scent of hay and leather wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, but the weight of Jake's warning hung over them like a storm cloud. She glanced back at him, his expression still serious, yet filled with a flicker of determination. Okay, let's gather the details, Hank said, breaking the silence. He grabbed a few chairs and set them up in a circle. Jake, what exactly did you hear? Who was around? Jake took a deep breath. I don't know names. Just rumors floating around the local bars. People are curious about the ranch, about things that, well, they shouldn't be. Lily felt a mix of worry and anger bubbling in her chest. We've worked so hard to keep this place running. We can't just let someone come in and take it. I know, Hank replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. That's why we need to be smart about this. If they're planning something, we need to be ready. As they discussed strategies, Lily couldn't shake that nagging feeling about the past. For years, they had managed the ranch with pride, but the specter of her family's history hovered just beyond reach. Old tales of land disputes whispered in her mind, creating a knot in her stomach. Lily, Jake interrupted her thoughts. What do you think we should do first? She looked up, meeting his gaze. His blue eyes sparkled with intention, and all at once the weight of their shared burden felt lighter. Maybe we should start by looking for any signs of these guys. If they show up again, we'll need to know. Hank nodded. Right. We need to keep an eye on the perimeter, especially near the fences. They might think we're asleep at the wheel. A sense of urgency filled the air as they made a plan. They divided tasks, each taking on what they could handle. Jake volunteered to check the eastern edge of the pasture where he had seen some movement earlier. Meanwhile, Hank would patrol the barn, and Lily would stay close, guarding the horses and keeping watch. Be careful, Hank said, gazing intently at both of them. If you see anything or anyone, you come back immediately. Lily felt a swell of strength as she nodded, determination flooding through her. They were all in this together. As she watched Jake head out, her heart skipped a beat. What if she whispered to herself, thoughts spiraling outwards? She couldn't help but imagine all kinds of scenarios: the ranch being threatened, their family torn apart, and the fear lodged itself deep within her heart. Minutes turned into hours as Lily guarded the barn. Anxiety turned into restless energy, and she found herself stepping out into the moonlight, scanning the horizon. The shadows danced eerily, playing tricks on her mind. But that was when she noticed something, a glimmer of light reflecting off metal. Her pulse quickened. "Jake!" she shouted, her voice slicing through the calm night air. She raced toward the sound, heart thumping as dread settled within her. At the far side of the paddock, she saw him, Jake, crouched low. "What is it?" he hissed back, urgency in his tone. "There is something," she began, but stopped as a faint rustling caught her attention. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees at the edge of the property, a silhouette against the moon. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Who is there?" Jake called, stepping in front of her instinctively. The tension in the air snapped like a taut string, and uncertainty spun around them. Could they confront this unknown threat together? Would they be ready for whatever was coming? Heart racing, Lily clutched Jake's arm. This was only the beginning, and she feared the truth lurking beneath the surface was about to break free. Lily's heart pounded in her chest as the figure stepped forward, the shadows clinging to its every movement. She squeezed Jake's arm tighter, feeling the warmth of his presence beside her. He was solid, a rock amidst the growing unease. But even as she dug her nails into his sleeve, she sensed the shift in the air, a kind of charged silence, like the moment before a thunderstorm. "Show yourself." Jake's voice was steady, but she could hear the strain beneath it. The figure halted, and for a moment, all they could do was watch each other. The moonlight revealed just enough, a dark hat, a rugged coat framing a lean figure. "Easy now," the stranger drawled, his voice low but calm. "Ain't here to cause trouble." Lily felt a rush of tension ease slightly, but her instincts warned her not to trust so easily. "Who are you?" she demanded, stepping out from behind Jake just a fraction, her voice filled with bravado she didn't quite feel. "Name's Clay," he replied, his eyes narrowed as if sizing them up. "I've been keepin' an eye on this ranch, on account of some bad talk in town about folks wanting to take it over." He shifted, revealing a much more relaxed posture now. "I reckon you might need some help." Jake exchanged a cautious glance with Lily. "How do we know we can trust you?" Clay shrugged, glancing back toward the trees, then returning to them. "Don't really need to take my word for it. Just have a look around." He gestured vaguely to the edge where the trees met the light of the paddock. "I saw them out here before. I come by to warn you, figured I'd help if you let me." Lily felt uncertain. This man was a stranger, yet something about him felt familiar. Maybe it was the tilt of his hat or the way he stood, confident, yet non-threatening. She knew the stories of people who looked for a way to take advantage of others, but her gut told her this was different. "Why would you want to help us?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Been where you are, little lady," he replied, undeterred. "Family land ain't just acres and fences, it's blood and tears. Folks like you put their lives into this place. So when I hear of people trying to run you out, well, that don't sit right with me." His choice of words struck a chord in her heart, opening a door to shared history she didn't expect. She recalled her father telling stories about the land, his struggles, and dreams. "Okay, then," she decided, taking a step closer, her voice steadier. "Show us what you know." Clay nodded, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. "Good choice. Let us move quietly. They don't know you're onto them yet." Without another word, they followed Clay into the shadows, the moonlight illuminating the path as they wound through the trees with purpose. Each step heightened Lily's anticipation and fear. What had they stumbled into? What dangers were lurking in the dark? But that lingering spark of determination lit the way. No matter the shadows before them, she knew they'd face them together. Clay led the way, his dark figure a guide through uncertainty, while her thoughts bombarded her with the weight of their legacy. As they approached the edge of the property, a muffled voice reached their ears, cutting through the silence like a blade. Lily froze. It was a voice she didn't recognize, but it filled her with dread. They had entered dangerous territory, and the stakes were rising even higher than she imagined. What awaited them in the darkness? Would they be able to confront the looming threats in their lives before it was too late? They moved cautiously, every rustle of leaves silent like a whispered warning. Clay led the way, his posture alert, scanning the area around them. The moon broke through the tree branches, casting fleeting patches of light that danced across the uneven ground. In those brief moments, Lily could see Jake's face a mixture of concern and fierce determination. As they drew closer to the source of the muffled voice, a more distinct sound began to take shape, deep and harsh. It was a threat and a mockery, layers of cruelty built into one short laughter. Lily's grip on Jake tightened as the darkness gathered around them like a shroud. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. The air felt different, heavier, and the realization dawned that they weren't just facing a phantom menace. The danger was real and present. Clay raised a finger, signaling them to stop. He crouched low, his eyes focused ahead. "Stay behind me," he murmured, glancing back at Lily and Jake. His demeanor was serious, every hint of lightness snuffed out by the weight of the moment. As they settled behind the thick trunk of a towering oak, Clay gestured toward a cluster of shadows at the edge of the paddock. Lily squinted, trying to make out the figures huddled together. "They're planning something," Clay said, his voice low. "We need to find out what." Tension curled in Lily's stomach. Each heartbeat seemed to echo her fear. What if they discovered them? What if all this was in vain? But there was no turning back. They had to understand what kind of threat loomed over them. Suddenly, the group of shadowy figures burst into laughter again, a sound wrapped in malice. A larger man, his silhouette outlined against the moonlight, stepped forward. "We'll take this place, and no one can stop us," he bellowed, his voice cutting through the night like a jagged knife. Lily's heart raced as she leaned closer to Jake, trying to steady her breath. "What do they want?" she whispered, the question lingering in the air like a thundercloud. "They want to force you out," Clay replied flatly, never taking his eyes off the scene unfolding before them. "And they think they can do it without a fight." "Not if we have anything to say about it," Jake gritted his teeth, a fire igniting in his eyes. Lily felt a surge of hope. Together, they could stand against this. "What can we do?" she asked, determination flooding her voice. Clay turned slightly, his expression softening. "We gather intel. We get them to underestimate us. And then we strike when they least expect it." She nodded, her resolve solidifying with every word. They wouldn't let fear consume them. They had a right to defend their home just as generations before them had done. As Clay directed them on how to slip closer unnoticed, Lily couldn't shake the nagging feeling of vulnerability that tugged at her. What if they were caught? But in that moment, she chose to focus on the strength knitted into the bond with Jake and Clay. Breaking through the brush, they edged closer, the danger palpable. Suddenly, a twig snapped underfoot loud in the stillness. Lily's breath caught. And there it was, the hushed silence followed by the turning of heads. "Did you hear that?" the large man said, snapping to attention. Lily's heart pounded. They were exposed. What would happen if they were discovered? Would they risk everything for the legacy of their family, or was it time to flee before it was too late? The tension clung tightly around them, ready to ignite. They were on the brink of something monumental, but would it be courage or chaos that defined their next move? The silence stretched, suffocating, as the group of shadows focused their gazes on the crackling underbrush. Lily's heart thundered against her ribs, her mind racing in a spiral of panic and uncertainty. Clay's eyes narrowed, calculating their options. "Get down," he whispered urgently, pulling them both to the ground. The rough earth pressed against Lily's cheek, and the smell of damp leaves wafted around her, grounding her even as fear rose like bile in her throat. The large man stepped forward, his shadow swallowing the smaller figures around him. "Show yourselves," he barked, voice booming with an authority that sent a shiver down Lily's spine. She winced, wondering if the sound of her heart could betray them. Jake's hand was warm over hers, reassuring yet tinged with his own anxiety. Clay's mind was racing as he scanned the area. Maybe it was time to pull back. But then again, they needed to know what was going on. Out of the corner of her eye, Lily caught movement, a flicker of light from the huddle of men. Someone was holding a lantern, illuminating the night with an eerie glow. Duncan, one of the smaller figures, muttered, casting a nervous look around. "Do you think it's just the wind?" A female voice replied, shaking just a bit too much. The tension shifted, and in that moment, Lily sensed a flicker of doubt creeping into their aggressors. "We can't let them hear us," Clay whispered, pulling them further behind bark and foliage. "We need to listen, not act, not yet." Lily's mind was a flurry. What if they left? Would it mean conceding everything? The large man turned back, his features barely visible in the dim light. "We'll give them one more night. If they're still here at dawn, we make them wish they never set foot on this land." The sheer malice in his words caused the blood to drain from Lily's face. The group behind them murmured in uneasy agreement, and the weight of their conversation fell heavy on her shoulders. "That's it. They're planning to drive us out by morning," she gasped, squeezing Jake's hand. "We have to warn the others," Jake said, a fierce determination igniting in his eyes once more. "But how?" Clay replied, glancing back towards the men who were too close for comfort. "We can't risk getting caught." Lily weighed her options, the instinct to flee battling with the burning need to protect her home. Looking up at Jake, she saw the steady resolve on his face. He was afraid, but he was ready to fight, to stand. "What if we cause a distraction?" she suggested. "Just long enough for one of us to slip away." Clay shook his head while reconsidering. "It's risky. But it might be our only shot." They watched as one of the men, still holding the lantern, leaned closer to the others, animated in his speech. Lily felt a surge of audacity. "I can create one. I just need a moment." Clay's expression darkened, but, seeing her fierce determination, sighed. "Okay. Just be careful." She crawled back slowly, keeping herself low, until she reached a bush heavy with dried twigs. A plan sparked in her mind, yet worry gnawed at her. Would it work? Would they be ready? As she gathered a handful of debris to set ablaze, she couldn't help but feel the weight of their futures resting on her shoulders. "What if this doesn't work?" Jake whispered from behind her, the vulnerability in his tone grounding her. "Then we make sure it does," she replied, hoping her voice didn't betray her own fears. With one last glance at the encroaching figures, Lily felt a fierce determination course through her veins. She struck a match, heart pounding, and the flame lit up her world for just a moment, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. But would it be enough to change their fate? She held her breath, prayer mingling with anticipation, as the fire flickered to life, dancing in the night. What would they risk for a glimmer of hope? The fire crackled to life, sending small flames reaching toward the sky, glowing defiantly against the darkness. A spark ignited in Lily's chest, a rush of adrenaline as she turned back toward Jake and Clay, their faces painted in shadows. "This will distract them," she whispered fiercely, holding the flame tight enough to feel its heat against her palm. The chaos of voices erupted ahead, the men turned their attention toward the sudden glow, curiosity overpowering their earlier malice. "Look! Over there!" one shouted, pointing as the amber light danced among the trees. Lily felt flashes of panic at her action, but it was too late to change course. She hugged the embers tight and rushed back toward the shadows. "Go!" she urged Jake and Clay, her heart racing, their eyes brimming with a mix of fear and respect. Clay stepped forward, his face a mask of intense concentration. "Get to the barn," warned Hank. He hissed, pointing toward the path behind them. With no more time to waste, they nodded, instinctively knowing they had to trust each other completely. As they slipped from the shadows, Lily took one last glance back at the dancing flames, which now flickered wildly, drawing in the men toward her makeshift distraction. The dark figures rushed toward the fire's glow, their earlier confidence replaced with disarray. Let us move. She urged, feeling determination surge once more. They darted through the moonlit paddock, the stars above burning with intensity as they made their way toward the safety of the barn. Heart pounding, Lily gasped for breath, deeply aware that the stakes had dramatically shifted. The tension that had gripped her chest now transformed into a fierceness that propelled her forward. They needed to warn Hank and prepare for whatever might come next. When they reached the barn, the heavy door creaked as Lily flung it open. Hank stood there, eyes wide, and an expression of concern etched into his features. What happened? He demanded, urgency lacing his tone. As Lily caught her breath, she began to recount the encounter, the plan, and their desperate need for action. Hank, they're coming for the ranch by dawn. We have to be ready. She urged, her voice thick with emotion. That he looked between them, processing the information, each word resonating deeply in his heart. We will face this as a family. No more hiding, he said, newfound strength surging through him. Lily saw a fire lit in her dad's eyes that mirrored her own, a bond of purpose ignited by love and shared struggle. They gathered supplies, flashlights, ropes, and any tools they might need. With every movement, their spirits lifted, unity forming a shield against the encroaching darkness. Lily felt alive in a way she hadn't for so long. As they set out to prepare defenses, she sensed a shift, a rebuilding of the scars etched into their family. Moments turned to hours, yet the night felt unyielding. Just then, they heard rustling from the trees nearby. Clay stepped forward hesitantly before turning back to the group. Here they come. A sense of foreboding loomed. The battleground was set. The men emerged, shadows creeping forward, fueled by confidence. What are you all doing? The larger man scoffed. Time to leave, kids. Lily stepped into the moonlight, heart racing but fierce. No. You're the ones who must leave. This is our home. The challenge rung clear through the silence, and she felt Jake's reassuring presence beside her, Hank firm at her back. The leader's smirk faded. You think you can stand against us? He sneered, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his eyes now, as if he hadn't anticipated a fight. Clay moved closer, tension crackling in the air. Together, we can do anything. You have no right to this land. A pulse of courage flowed through Lily. They were stronger together, fueled by love, memories, and an unbreakable bond stitched by hardship. The confrontation ignited a clash of energy between uncertainty and resolve. Each second felt electric, as the men inched forward, but instead of fear, Lily felt emboldened. Together. She shouted again. We've weathered storms before, and we won't back down now. Suddenly, each of them sprang into action. Hank, standing strong with sheer determination, while Jake and Clay positioned themselves, ready to defend. The tension escalated, and in an instant, chaos erupted, voices yelled, and movement surged, a vibrant testament to their collective spirit. Lily felt the rush of adrenaline, a mixture of bravery and fear igniting her resolve. No longer just a girl with dreams, she was a force forged in love, passing along the whisper of her mother's spirit urging her on, her connection to the land vital. The fight became more than about the ranch, it was about standing tall for what they believed. As the confrontation forged forward, filled with shouting and confusion intermingled with determination, Lily's heart swelled with a sense of purpose. This time, they wouldn't just face shadows, they'd embrace their light. In that night under the Texas sky, the battle for their legacy ignited a fire that went far beyond defense. Their hearts intertwined, a family fighting together, a ride into the unknown, ready to reclaim their story. This was just the beginning, a defining moment that would forever transform their lives, echoing with the laughter and love their ranch represented. They were home and they were prepared to fight for it. Lily took a breath, feeling the weight of the world balance on her shoulders. Finally, she understood, together, they could breathe hope into a future unraveled by the past. As the night carried on, a surge of possibility filled the air around them, a reminder that family was worth the fight. And as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, they stood together, ready to face whatever came next. Now that you've witnessed this heartwarming transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us build an even better community. Don't forget to comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you, and for the true fans, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love.